Hello, Music Multiverse listeners, and welcome back to Beyond Your Radio. And this is Keep It Dark, meta for reality. Dark can be very cliche, it can be predictable, almost muted in some cases, or matted down in a format that we're just all too familiar with. It doesn't matter if it's the overuse, plethora of continued rehashing of storylines or sequels, prequels, and based on stories, and they're really not. They've been wasted, brought out of proportion to just entertain, losing their darkness in the folly of horror itself in some cases. I mean, look at the movies of today and how hard they try to be so unrealistic as it's played out. When some of the most successful horror movies have been generally realistic or more simple, less complex, reality is just far fucking scarier. Sorry. Which leads us to the metaphor reality and the great teaming musically of an odd choice. Mr. Ed Harcourt, vocal, piano, guitar, bass, guitar, drums, plays a lot of instruments. If you're not familiar with his work, which all seems to follow in an indie for sure, but from there it can be gorgeous in chamber. It can be stripped indie pop. It can be uniquely twisted in indie piano and interlaced guitar work that is never truly a signature, but a luster, if you will, for that non-gloss, gloss, semi-gloss, or high gloss, depending on his musical choice. It started with Here Be Monsters in 2001, and since then, he's had a multitude of records from Every Sphere in 2003 to Luster in 2010 to Time of Dust in 2014 and so forth and so on. And recently, El Magnifico that debuted in March of 2024. All of those signatured to Ed Harcourt, the musician, vocal styles, and indie pop, indie rock, maybe a hint of folk, depending on where he positions himself. But it's always he has something to say, and he's not a household name by any means. What I was stunned to see was that the title and his name under it, The Puppet Asylum, and Otto Baxter, Not a Fucking Horror Story, all through the original productions for Sky Originals. This eerie, carnival, evil, musical kind of macabre. It's not dark thrashing. It's not sinister sounds. It's not growling. It's the tinkling of piano, old chords, and a sense of the darkness of the past, of the mind, of reality, sort of hinting back to Halloween and that tinkling, or even further back to Poltergeist, or further back to The Exorcist, or in other cases that you might realize yourself. I was still stunned because as it showcases another side of Harcourt that if you knew and followed his works and his instrumentalism could have possibly been there all along, now that I hear this. And it kind of lets me go back. I mean, we're talking, there's going to be a dozen albums that he has in solo. But it haunts still the same. But what truly the haunt here, the horrific arena of this, is the reality the movie is based on. And that kind of which have kind of fed Ed Harcourt like it fed the BAFTAs and the people associated with this truly unique horror project. Otto Baxter, the filmmaker who took his life story and made a Victorian horror film on the monster he self-proclaims himself to be. This is a horror short. It is not a full-length motion picture. But how can that be? He does not look like a monster. He never acts like one. Well, I'm not going to spoil the movie. He's never harmed anyone. He's never expressed himself in a manner that would offend or be derogatory toward any one individual. However, much people have been derogatory or spoken wrongly to him, which has created this darkness. The only difference between Otto and you or I is his being born with Down syndrome.
I may be a monster, I might be insane, but one thing I'm sure of, the world knows my name.
This movie is a metaphor for his life, where he always thought he was a monster because of how people treated him. Dark comes in many sizes, disguises, and in the audio and video, this horror movie, the true monsters look like you and I. Viewing, judging, thinking we know how things should be, how they should be perceived, how a person should act, how a person should feel. Darkness can be treated like being treated like a child when you're nowhere near the age of one. Bleak future can be darkness, and Otto used the feeling, emotions, and struggles of being who he is, and not only brought to light the power of creativity, but managed to attract the skillful instrumental aptitude and songwriting of Ed Harcourt to unleash a unique dark metaphor. Wrap it in a playful, sinister, kind of tinkling of the piano, a musical manifesto of dangling eeriness, and frightfully off-kilter refrains and key changes to bring this wonderful human being story from darkness into the light of audio and to the camera, both in the film and the documentary, that together make this an extraordinary listen and an extraordinary watch.
So fuck you, I'm evil. Don't be misunderstood. I'm a bad motherfucker. Now go sling your heart.
So why this kind of music? Why this experience? Well, the darkness is there and it has a different shape, a sound, even hear a musicality to it. You found something more profound wrapped in that packaging. It sort of likens to the lunchbox in the theme of Marilyn Manson, and that literal metaphor of his experience made monster, or made up monster, depending on how you look at Marilyn. This is a dark journey in the heart of soul, and seeing things from a perspective that didn't want darkness. It merely wanted the world to see what the metaphor reality truly is in the dark. Thank you for taking this dark journey of sound with me. I know it might not be easy, but maybe there's something for your ear in the different darkness. I will see you next time for darkness that ensnared Robert Townsend. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, of course. Articles, videos, podcasts just a few days away. It's all about albums, bands, artists, anything we can get our hands on. Go Beyond Your Radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. I always thank you for watching. I appreciate any comments given. And certainly go, if you can, to see this wonderful movie, this documentary. It's not easy to find at this moment on streaming services. It's not available at all. But I do recommend. Thank you for watching and happy listening.